Well, hey everybody, how's everybody doing? Let me know how the sound is, if you can see me, if you can hear me. I hope everybody's having a great day. Today was a fun day for me. I hope you guys had a great day too. If you ordered a Mavic Pro, DJI Mavic, not even Mavic Pro, a DJI Mavic 2, a lot of people got them today. I think a lot are going to be delivered tomorrow as well. I think it's maybe. I'm curious to know if you did order. And hey, WG Brown, appreciate that. And Joe Mariana, I appreciate that as well. Uh, if you ordered a Mavic 2, did you get one today as well? Or when did you order it if you did or didn't? So, curious about that. So, yeah, so, and if you haven't ordered anything, hey, Mr. Braden, appreciate you watching. First time commenting, appreciate it. Hey, Cardoso, how's it going, buddy? Um, so, yeah, I'm curious. Did any of you guys that are on so far, did you guys order one of these yet? If so, what are your thoughts? I'm going to start diving in here in just a minute, talking about it. As you guys can see, there's a little hint of what I got. I got the Pro version. I want both, but it's just not in the budget. This YouTube thing just isn't isn't paying for a whole bunch of these. So got to be wise with the money. Got kids, all that kind of stuff. So got to spend it wisely, right? After all, they really are toys. Hey, Schmitty. Funny thing about this shirt is that my son, who is a teenager and is crazy about baseball, loves Sandlot. If you guys are sports fans and you haven't seen The Sandlot, this is a great movie, one of the best times. And unfortunately, it's one of those movies that my teenage son can relate to because he loves baseball and loves sports, but uh, but he can't identify with it because everybody's just in front of their computers and Xboxes and stuff playing games, and they don't even bother to go to people's houses anymore. They'd rather be in their own houses with their own computers and chatting on the computer, kind of like we're doing right now, right? So, anyways, yeah, Cardoso, haven't ordered one yet. Are you thinking about it? What do you have, Cardoso? I forget what drones you have. Joe didn't order it yet. Waiting for Original Dobo to give me details on the Zoom. So far, he says it's smooth. You know, I was pretty conflicted over which one to order for a long time. When the leaks started coming out about two different drones, I was thinking, oh, maybe I would go with the Zoom. But I for the longest time was thinking the Mavic, the Pro version, right, with this 1-inch sensor, and that's what I ended up going with. But there are a lot of reasons why having that zoom would be really cool to have. So hey, Mark Gray, I have seen some pictures floating around. I'm not terribly worried about that yet until it becomes kind of a going on and on and on. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Every drone, my Mavic Air, when it first came, had a rear sensor that was broken, so I didn't even get to fly it. I ordered it from DJI, got it on the first day everybody was getting them, and it had a rear sensor that was broken, so I had to ship it back to DJI, and that kind of that's hard for a guy like me trying to make videos when you don't have your aircraft on the first day with everybody else. So stuff happens, manufacturing defects. As long as DJI responds and fixes it for whoever's having the problem, and it's not too big of a sample size that is having that, you know what? That's just a fact of life. But we'll see. If it becomes a big sample size, right? There's a lot of them. Well, then hey, that's a big deal, right? Let's see who else we got on. Ron Brown, appreciate you joining. Let's see, TLR X4, hey man, congrats on your new join. Hey, thanks, I really appreciate it. I was super stoked. So if you guys have never ordered anything from DJI, when it gets shipped, at least all three, or this is my, I guess, fourth drone from DJI that I've gotten, and I've ordered them directly from DJI. And when it gets shipped, at least here in the US, most of them I think come via FedEx. And when you check the tracking status on FedEx, it always gives you a date, right? And a date and a time. So mine said actually Tuesday, so tomorrow by 10:30 a.m. And every single one of them has come a day early. So this one actually came about 8:30 a.m. this morning. So pretty exciting. Hey, Stroke TV, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you joining us. I love watching your stuff. If you guys haven't checked out Stroke TV on YouTube, go check him out. He's a participant on the DJI forums, so forum.dji.com, and he participates a lot there. So thanks for joining Stroke TV. Appreciate it. Let's see who else we got on. Schmitty, have the spark, thinking about the zoom. You know what? So far, okay, so I'm going to preface it by everything that I say about this. I've got about 12 hours minus, doing real life stuff and including going to soccer game and other stuff, right? So just preface it with that. I've got very limited time, but so far, I'm loving it, man. It is awesome. It's really an upgrade from, and just to set the stage, I think a lot of you guys know, but I first started out with the DJI Spark, so just over a year ago. That was my first drone I'd ever ordered, was the DJI Spark. And then, of course, when the Mavic Air came out, I ordered the Mavic Air. And I do have my DJI Spark. It's just in a box right over here. I still fly it occasionally, but the Mavic Air, in my opinion, is just a better aircraft pretty much in every way than the Spark, but it's also almost twice the money right now. So, but the Spark is an awesome aircraft. So I started with the Spark, moved up to the Mavic Air when it came out earlier this year, and now I've stepped up to the Mavic 2 Pro. And so that's my experience. I'm not coming from flying, and in fact, I've never flown a Mavic Pro before, the original Mavic Pro. I've never flown the any of the Phantoms or any of the bigger, industrial or business grade, professional grade products. So that's really where I'm coming from, and so it's always good to understand where somebody's coming from, to understand, put in perspective what their comments are. So for me, coming from the Mavic Air and the Spark, they of course use Wi-Fi for the connection from the remote control to the aircraft. And I tell you what, OcuSync is where it's at. Now, everybody talks about, oh, it's 5 mile range or 8 kilometers range. Let me stop something that's going on right here. It's telling me the stream is not very healthy. So how's everybody? Is the stream going okay? The video looking okay? Sound going okay? Hey Bill, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. George Bowles, thanks for joining. Now, are you guys seeing me okay? Because YouTube is telling me I got bad stream health, and I'm not sure what to do about that. Okay, so we're continuing where I was going until I see something saying that I got a bad picture. I'm just going to keep going. So I think it's good to understand where a person's coming from to kind of give context to. Thanks for the feedback, Mr. Braden. I think it's good for that context to understand what a person's perspectives are, because that kind of shapes their comments. So OcuSync really is where it's at. Like I was starting to say, they advertise 5 miles out. I'm never going to get this 5 miles out. There's just no way that I'm getting it that far out. But what I will say is, in the usable distance that I'm going to fly it in, right, it is rock solid. So the signal is rock solid. With the Wi-Fi signals for the Mavic Air and the Spark, you have to really make sure that if you go, you start stretching that visual line of sight like everybody does, right? And if you start getting some trees in between, or you start getting some rooftops in between, between your antenna and the aircraft, your signal drops really quick with the Wi-Fi drones, the Spark and the Mavic Air. With the OcuSync 2.0, oh my goodness, I haven't had any problems at all. And thanks for the feedback there, guys. I appreciate it. Um, the signal was fantastic. I could go further than I should out and still have a great signal. So that's really what it's all about, is in your usable distance. Who cares about going 5 miles out? I don't care about that anyways. I don't think that's appropriate, right? It's not allowed here in the US according to the regulations. But in your usable distance, when you're in an environment where there's a lot of interference, right? You're in a neighborhood, you're in a city environment, there's a lot of interference. Having the OcuSync is really going to make a difference in terms of having a usable signal at a usable distance. Whereas, the Mavic Air, I didn't have too many problems with it, but you just had to be a bit more careful than you do with the OcuSync. I mean, there really is a big difference from. And again, I'm talking, I've done 3 batteries worth of flights. I did get the Fly More combo, so that's really where it's at, is you get a great signal, and it's usable. So that's fantastic. Now there's other things. One of the things I don't necessarily like about the ergonomics of it is it's kind of, I started off with the Spark, I moved to Mavic Air, and I'm still trying to get the hang of, the fact that how you have to flip these, and then you have to flip these, and, it's just bigger, and it just takes a little bit to get used to kind of handling it, and it's second nature. Kind of the same thing with the Mavic Air when I first started. The fact that you have to rotate the back legs up, you have to make sure and move the front legs out first, and then the back legs, and so on. So it would be great if you didn't have to do it in a certain sequence. You could just pop them out, but that's one of those kind of muscle memory things that you kind of figure out very quickly. Now, there's little things that I really like about this. So first off, the power button up on top is very, very useful. Having the Mavic Air, the power button is on the bottom. So when you're setting it down on something to get ready to fly, you have to pick it up, turn it over, press the button, turn it over, set it back down. Whereas this, you can just set it down on the ground or on whatever you're taking off from, and the power button's right there. So after you get your remote control all set up, you just bend over, press the button, and it's there. So little things like that, I really enjoy. I like, good design, good ergonomics, and so on. Makes a big difference. One of the things that, again, is one of those simple little things is the SD card. And again, they have two. So they have two little slots, one on each side. And one of the things I like is you can actually get to the SD card slot. Try and get these fat fingers with no fingernails into the back of this to get that SD card out. Oh my goodness, that's a mess of a design for the SD card there. They've actually improved that here. So again, simple things are great. The other thing on here that is, and as soon as I saw them announce it, these LED lights, the landing lights, oh my goodness. Why didn't anybody think of that before? Why hasn't that been on one of these expensive camera drones? And somebody's going to tell me, you know what, so-and-so company did it, 20 years ago. That's great. But none of the big boys right now, the Autel, Parrots, those guys don't have the LED landing lights. And for those of you guys who may not be aware of what these are, these two things right here are LED lights, and they shine down, and by default it's set to automatic, so when it takes off and it lands, it's close to ground, it turns on these lights when it's low light outside, so that these vision sensors that are underneath can see the ground and help position it. And it's fantastic. I actually this evening put it up in the air just around sunset, and I watched the sunset go down, and when I brought it back, the lights automatically came on when it went to land to find a spot. And I actually manually played around with them, and they're actually really bright when it's up in the sky. It makes a huge difference when it's kind of dusky. It's twilight outside. It makes a huge difference in the visibility. I mean, it's again something super simple. I mean, I bet these two LED lights didn't cost more than $1 for for them, and I can't imagine there's a whole lot of time involved in programming that feature to work. But what a difference! That really is a great feature. Think about people who are flying into a cave or flying into a dark area or so on. Turn the lights on, and then it's going to help with the visual positioning sensor so that when the GPS goes out, you got a bad canopy or something, it can still use the visual positioning system, right, to be able to see underneath it. So and I'm not advocating to fly into those type of areas, but yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna pause here, take a look at what you guys are saying. What else do you guys like about this? So, Bill, I hope you get your Mavic 2 Pro soon as well. Bill, did you order yours on the day of the event, or did you order it the next day? I'm curious. If you didn't get yours today, and does your Bill, does yours say that it was going to come Wednesday, and so you're hoping it'll come tomorrow, kind of like mine came a day early, and I think a lot of people came a day early, so I'm kind of curious about that. Schmitty, do you need OTG cable with the OcuSync? So there is a cable that automatically comes with it. So that is the default. And as far as I understand, it does not, there's no Wi-Fi at all in this. So you can't connect. So the old Mavic Pro, if I remember correctly, you could actually use Wi-Fi to connect to the aircraft in some certain situations. That is not the case anymore. You can't use Wi-Fi to connect to this at all. It's OcuSync only, so you have to have your remote control. And yes, I think, and I'm not 100% sure on this, maybe the other guys in the comments can answer for sure. I'm pretty sure you have to use the cable. It comes with 3 different cables. It comes with, by default, the Lightning one in here, as well as it comes with a micro USB and a USB-C. Which brings me to another comment. So they kind of did so with the Mavic Air, they did the USB-C connection on the aircraft, and for the remote control, they did a micro USB here on the side. Now, I thought maybe that was just a, kind of a short-term thing for the Mavic Air, trying to get it out, trying to use up some old stock of these connectors or something like that. But they did it again for the Mavic 2. Why? So you have right here, you have the USB-C connector for data connection, so you can get your your data off of here. You can connect to it with Assistant 2 for doing firmware upgrades and that kind of stuff, configuration stuff, as well as you can use this to get the data off of the internal storage, because remember there's 8 gigabytes of internal storage, which is the same as what the Mavic Air has. The original Mavic Pro didn't have that. So it's got USB-C here, but it's got a micro USB on the side here. So they, again, the same thing that they did with the Mavic Air. They send you a micro or a USB-C cable with a micro USB adapter connected to it, and I'm like, why did you do that? Just go USB-C all the way around. I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Let's see. So, Bill, I would love to talk with you about the event. Maybe we can connect some other time. I'd love to talk with you about the event. I'm jealous you got a chance to go. I didn't get the opportunity to go, but I'd love to chat with you sometime about that. Let's see, Ron. Yeah, get on FedEx for everybody. Appreciate that. Let's see, Bill, you got the Mavic 2 Pro. Ron, Cardoso, careful with the gimbal. Apparently it's just glued on. Yeah, that's, I don't know. I'm not worried about that yet. How many of those have you seen? I've seen a couple of those today, but is that something that's going on more than I'm aware of while I've been busy today? Let's see. Hey, Cardoso, I appreciate that. Hit the like button. I appreciate that. Hey, and while we're at it, if you guys are going to be buying a drone and you're planning on buying it from DJI or off of Amazon, I would really appreciate if you use the affiliate links that are down in the description, or I think I might have actually posted one of them up at the top of the chat. You can send 100% of your money to DJI, or you can have DJI use the affiliate links for down in the description, and DJI will give me a few cents credit for any purchase you create, and it helps me to be able to afford to buy these, to be able to do these videos and talk with you guys, afford these lights and so on. And anyways, I appreciate that. All right, so LED, Cardos, I agree. The LED light is awesome. It really is. Palmetto, sorry about that, Schmitty. I was misinformed. Thought you didn't have to use cables. Rick Halber, appreciate you joining us. How's everything going? Adventuring the days, tips on explaining to wife this is a necessary upgrade from the Spark. You know what? That is a very difficult thing, right? If I wasn't doing this kind of stuff, it would be a hard sell for me to be able to do this. I mean, the Spark it's really good. I mean, it does a lot of stuff that most people need to do, right? And if you're not, the Mavic 2 Pro especially, I think, is for somebody who really cares about trying to get the best picture, you know, is going to go and do color grading and that kind of stuff. It's going to do a lot of low light stuff. One of the reasons, like I said, I think earlier, that I went for the Mavic 2 Pro was that 1-inch sensor is going to be able to collect more light. And I do a lot of pictures and video at sunrise and sunset, and you know, having that extra dynamic range. So Spark is going to be that smaller 1/2.3-inch sensor that's in the Spark and the Mavic Air and the original Mavic Pro, and even the Zoom, the new Zoom. It's really small, and so collecting light, and they do fantastic. They make great pictures, but having a little bit larger sensor, that's why, you know, quite honestly, it's, even though a 1-inch sensor is great for a drone, it's still tiny compared to the sensors that are in cameras like this, right? This is an APS-C, which is much bigger than the 1-inch sensor that's in here. I mean, obviously you can see the lens that's there, but the sensor inside it just collects much more data. And this is just the Canon SL2. This is a smaller size. So we're nowhere near the capabilities that the digital SLRs and the new fancy mirrorless cameras, those sensors are still much bigger. But the reason pros get cameras, real cameras with much bigger sensors, is to be able to collect all that light. And that's really the idea behind the 1-inch sensor, is to collect more light so that you can see more, right? So that you can see that sunset, you can see some of the clouds in the bright areas, and you can still see some of the trees and landscape and so on in the darker areas of those pictures. And you don't end up with just a bunch of grain. Now, it's not going to be perfect, right? Like I said, you know, those cameras, real cameras, digital SLRs and so on, have much bigger. So there's still a long ways to go. I imagine, you know, the Inspire and so on, they have bigger cameras and so on, right? That's why the pros use those bigger cameras. That's why they mount a DSLR to the Matrice, the M600, right? So just the bigger you get, the more light. Doing videos and pictures are really all about collecting light. So, Mark Gray, on my original Mavic Pro, like most people, I changed to the bottom USB as the side one was a bit hit and miss. Yeah, I'm still not a fan. I don't like that. I really am not. And I'm going to start using a tablet more and more. And for that, you're going to have to use the big USB port here. So, you know, that's how it goes. I actually have a review in the works. There's a Freewell tablet holder up there. I've got a review of that. Freewell sent that to me and to do a little review and talk about, and I really like it. It's working out well. Let's see, what else we got here? Mark Gray. On my original okay, we already got that one. Oh, I saw duct tape. Ron Brown, just duct tape the gimbal back on. You know what, Ron Brown? You are my type of guy, man. If you would have seen how I had my camera rigged up, actually this camera right here rigged up to do an unboxing video that I'm working on for the Mavic 2. uh, you would know why this channel is called Kludgy. So for those of you guys that don't know, Kludgy is kind of a spelling play on the word kludge, which really is kind of a saying, it's kind of the duct tape and band-aid, duct tape and baling wire type of solution, right, for anything. It's really just a temporary fix to get something to work. And that's kind of how I am. I come up with kind of creative solutions all the time for problems. I'm kind of a cheapskate, so going and buying some fancy rig or something to hang a camera over in front of me to look down wasn't working out. So a ladder, a tripod, and some duct tape worked out really good. So, all right, what else we got? David, I'll buy your used Mavic 2 when you get ready to purchase the Phantom 5. Ooh, Ron, you're talking my language, man. Although, I don't know that I'll be getting rid of the Mavic 2 for Phantom 5. Hopefully, hopefully I can find some funds to be able to buy a Phantom 5. If I can't, maybe I will sell it off to you. But the Phantom, if they shrink it, that'll be great. One of the reasons why I love these are just the size, right? I love this size. This is an awesome size. When they can put all of this capability in this, oh my goodness, that is going to be awesome. This size is perfect. Well, obviously not perfect. Smaller would be even more perfect. But this is a really great size. It just fits like anywhere you want to put it. This is kind of, it's great. It folds up nice, but it's still, just look at that comparison in terms of the body size. It just doesn't fit as many places. So, this is still going to be great for the functionality you get over this. I think the size is worth it. But you know what? This Mavic Air is an awesome drone, man. I still love it. So I don't know if you guys... So the thumbnail that I put for this video and that I posted on Twitter and Facebook, it was actually taken... And I apologize. It was actually taken from this when I was on vacation. It wasn't taken from this. I just, in my rush, I decided kind of last minute to do this video, and so I didn't plan on doing a thumbnail or anything. So I just grabbed a picture that was on my phone that I thought was kind of cool. I didn't edit it or anything. So that thumbnail is just for my Mavic Air. So let's see. What else we got going on? I'm terrible at trying to talk and read and remember where I'm at and all that kind of stuff. So, Bill, appreciate you for joining. We'll take it easy. I can't walk, but I can fly drone shown. Thanks, I appreciate that. I do feel really lucky to be able to have that. Cardoso, unless Phantom 5 comes out with something out of this world, I think the Pro 2 will be reign for a while. You know what? I mean, it is the capabilities. Of course, they're going to keep moving forward, right? They're going to keep moving forward all the time. They're going to be able to put more and more in the same size. Technology is going to keep moving on. But you know what? What they put in there is really amazing. I think they're going to make the side sensors, of course. If you guys don't know, the side sensors only work in situations where you're doing an active track or tripod mode. So, they talk about omnidirectional, but they don't say it's 360. They don't say anywhere, in fact, in their documentation, they're very clear to say it's not 360 because there are blind spots, for instance. Right over here is probably a blind spot. These sensors can't see through this arm, right? So, it's great. It protects you in a lot of situations, but it can't protect you in all situations. And so, that's just something to keep in mind. So, as they get better and better, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked to see them moving to a situation kind of like the Skydio, where the Skydio has like, I don't know, 40 or 50, I don't know, 300 different sensors all the way around. And instead of having them on the body, they have them out on arms. They have basically a cage out around the propellers, and they put the sensors out here, right? So I wouldn't be surprised to see at some point DJI maybe will go to a system where they start putting the sensors out here instead of on the body here, right? Because these just end up being blind spots. They can't see through through the motors and through the arms and stuff. So, but they do have the top sensor, of course, that protects you from hopefully running into the ceiling and maybe trees above you and so on. Let's see, portability. Cardoso, I agree. Portability is key. I don't want to be carrying a backpack around to have to carry that, and that backpack is so. And I do carry a backpack around, but my backpack has my drone, it has my camera, it has a whole bunch of other stuff in it. I don't want to have a backpack that is just the drone, right? And that's part of the key. Let's see, what else we got? Benito, thanks for joining us, buddy. Appreciate that. So there are other little things. I kind of started off early on about little things that I like about it. One of the things that I like about the remote control, and again, it's one of those just little things that I think kind of helps kind of make things better, right? So one of the things they've done is they created these little notches. Oops, got to get it in there better. So, and don't mind how dirty my screen is on my phone, but see how they created these little notches right here? See where my fingers are? That's for the home button for your phone, right? Before, the remotes for the older style ones, the Mavic Pro, the Mavic Air, the Spark, there's no little notch here, and so trying to get your finger to the home button was a bit of a challenge, right? And so just simple little things like this end up making a big difference. All right, so what else did I want to talk about? One of the things I wasn't really sure if it would really make a difference for me or not was having this LED screen here with the flight telemetry data. I find it, because like I said, I'm coming from the Spark and the Mavic Air, I'm not used to having an LED screen on here. So my first flight, I was just, my eyes were just trained to look at the telemetry on the DJI Go app on my phone, right? But after my first flight, I'm like, David, what are you doing, man? There's telemetry right there, and it's actually find it easier to find the telemetry data. It's easier to see on this LED screen up here. And you can see that it's actually quite bright and really easy to see the information that's on there. And I don't have it plugged into my phone, so it's just going to keep saying connecting there. But it's really bright. The details are really easy to see. And so I like that. Especially when you're in bright sun, sometimes you're looking at your screen, you're kind of like squinting and whatever, and trying to see the telemetry data on your phone sometimes is a bit difficult. And so having it up here, it's just, again, one of those little details. And I think that is really where the Mavic 2, some people are just ecstatic, think it's the best thing since sliced bread, and that it's just this huge leap forward. Other people are like, oh, it's not a leap forward. It's just barely an upgrade to the well. I think it's really the sum of all the little things that really does make it a pretty good step up from the other stuff that's out there. I think that they've taken some of the good details that they introduced in the Mavic Air, and they've brought those forward. Things like APAS. Now I haven't really used APAS a whole lot, but it is really useful sometimes when if you're trying to fly through a whole bunch of trees or something like that. It's really cool how well it works, just navigating. They've improved the active track. Now that's not something that I've tested out, so put a little asterisk next to that with me saying that they've improved active track. But I've watched some of the videos out there that other people have done with active tracking, and it's definitely improved based on what I see from that. So I can't wait to get a chance to play around with that more. JBBs, thanks for joining us. Battery life. So battery life. So I was, after I got home from my son's soccer game this evening, I was out just kind of flying around. I popped it up from the street in front of my house, and popped it up, and I was flying around, and I went and I did this, and I was checking out just after the sun had set. I was kind of checking it out, and I haven't actually looked at the footage on my computer yet, so I'm interested to see what the footage looks like. So I can't talk about how great the footage is yet. But I've been flying around. I don't even know how long it was, but I'd been flying for quite some time. And my wife was outside. She was kind of cleaning out her car. And I said, hey honey, can you believe that I've been flying this whole time and I still have 15 minutes of battery life left? So that for those of you guys that don't know, 15 minutes is the full battery life of the Mavic Air, right? If you get a 15-minute battery, that's pretty good, right? But I had been sitting there flying around, and I'd done a whole bunch of things, messing around with it, and I still had 15 minutes left. So that's pretty cool. Now, one of the things that I've always kind of struggled with the Mavic Air is, now the gimbal is great, but even when you're not in sports mode, if you really hit that throttle sometimes, or you're bucking a wind or something, the gimbal will automatically point down a little bit, right? So, sometimes the gimbal will just, drop down, and I think that's just because it's pitching so much to try and go the speed you're wanting to go, and that it just it's just kind of forces it down from where you want it to be, and so that kind of makes it hard to get a nice video for what you're wanting to do. You can fly, and again, I'm 3 flights in, right? So I don't claim to say, give expert opinion on exactly how it behaves in all instances, but so far the gimbal hasn't been dropping down like that for me, and I've been going 30 miles an hour, which is a good speed, so you can actually get some movement. A lot of times you're lucky to get 18 miles an hour. You can kick it into sports mode and go above that, but a lot of times, you're 18. You can get 30 pretty easily out of this, so that's great. 30 miles an hour. And then, kick it into sports mode, and I was getting 45 miles an hour pretty easy. Now, I did in sports mode, for the most part, it was pretty good about keeping the gimbal stabilized. I did have a time or two where it did that, the gimbal kind of dropped, but I didn't have any situations, I wasn't flying crazy side to side, doing any craziness, so on. But, even in sports mode, it was the gimbal was really, really good, much better than what I'm used to with Mavic Air, and especially the Spark in that case. Just the ability to have more speed, more stabilized speed, being able to with obstacle avoidance, you can go faster with obstacle avoidance on with this because the sensors are a bit better. They go a little bit further out. So again, it's just little things. Now, one of the things, and again, I'm kind of saying, I'm kind of talking down about the Mavic Air a little bit, but I love this thing, man. So again, we're talking about a drone that's almost twice as much. So you can't expect this to do everything that does, and the size is a compromise, right? So I'm not trying to say, the remote control is starting to beep at me. I didn't shut it off. So I'm not taking a dig at this at all, right? This is a fantastic aircraft for the money. It's about the best thing you can get. There's of course the Nafi a little bit cheaper, the Evo a little bit more expensive. So you kind of gotta judge with those. But this is just a better aircraft all the way around. And one of the things that I don't like about this is how loud it is. This is obnoxiously loud, and I think that's pretty common. A lot of people talk about it. You guys watch the videos. This is obnoxiously loud, and I don't know that this is that much quieter. It's just a different tone. I think it's really this, like, the high-pitched, buzzing bees that everybody talks about, that just kind of penetrates, and your ear just stands out more than the sound from this. Now, this is not quiet. I'm not going to tell you that you can't hear this. This is got some sound to it. I wish it was quieter, but it's not an obnoxiously loud sound, and it's kind of more of a more guttural sound a little bit than this compared to this. Now, we're not talking, an M600, or something like that, but we're just talking, in comparison. So, I think the sound of this is not quite so ear piercing, and it just doesn't draw quite as much attention. There was a lot of times where I just didn't want to fly this because of the sound I was afraid it was going to bring too much attention to me, and which is funny because I'm sitting here on the internet broadcasting live, uh, and having people watch me, but I'm really not like an attention-seeking type of guy. I'm pretty quiet. I'm really happy to go find a quiet place where there's nobody around. That's my favorite. But a lot of times you can't find that. And I just found myself quite a few times not wanting to fly this in certain situations just because I was afraid of the sound. And I think that the sound of this one is the Mavic 2 is not quite as obnoxious, isn't going to bring quite as much attention to it. But, again, still only a day into my ownership of it. All right, what else we got going on? I feel like I'm missing all kinds of chats going on here. Let's see. Benito Valdez, love both drones. They're still a little expensive, and that's without the Fly More combo. Yeah, they're expensive, man. I mean, we're talking this one is $1,449 US dollars for the Mavic Pro. It's $1,249 for the zoom. So it's an extra $200 for that 1-inch sensor. Is it really worth the extra $200 for that sensor versus the zoom? You know what? That's really hard. I really think that the price should have been about the same for those. I mean, I understand they're making that one the premium with the Hasselblad. I think that there's some cool things around the color profiles. But you know what? If you aren't one of those guys going into Premiere Pro or one of the higher end, if you're just doing your videos on your phone. Or you're on your iPad, or you're just using iMovie or something like that to edit your videos, and you're really not doing color correction and that kind of stuff. I don't know that stepping up to the Mavic 2 Pro is really the right thing for you. I think that the Mavic 2 Pro is really for the people that are looking for doing that, the coloring and getting that extra dynamic range and so on. The zoom. Is going to be an awesome aircraft. I wish I could fly it. There's a lot of times, even today when I was flying this, I was thinking, you know what, that zoom would be really handy right now. Just because you can punch in a little bit closer. You don't have to worry about how loud it is. You can stay a little bit further away, not have to worry about the noise, not be a distraction, and be able to push in and be able to see that. Sure, it's only 2x optical zoom at 4K. You can't go any further than that, but sometimes just doubling in is going to help you out. If you drop down to 1080p, and this is where that's the marketing gurus, it's trying to do their thing, right? Oh, at full HD you can get 2x digital lossless zoom. Well, just so you understand, full HD is 1080p. They like to say that full HD to try and not bring attention to that fact, to try and make it a little bit harder to understand that. But at 4K, you can only get the 2x optical zoom, which is really the glass, right? That's the lens doing the work, right? A lens like this. It's much smaller, obviously, but a lens like this that is zooming in and out. But if you go to 1080p, you can also do digital zoom, and it's lossless zoom. And really the idea is that the sensor is actually bigger than the video is actually capturing from, and so they're able to just use more of that and kind of punch in. So yeah, let's see. Cardoso, kind of surprised it doesn't support 4K 60 frames per second. I agree. I thought for sure that it was going to absolutely have 4K 60 FPS. Now it'll be interesting. I've read that maybe it's around the size of the gimbal and the camera and the components that are in it, because processing twice as many frames is going to cause a lot to work even more. So there's more processing to be done and so on. So that's going to affect battery life, but it's also going to affect heat generation in the aircraft. And we're talking a smaller body, a smaller gimbal here, so they have to deal with heat. Heat is really the enemy of all those electronics, and it's the enemy of battery as well. And so so that's something that you really have to, when they're designing it, have to look out for. So a lot of people are saying, oh, they're going to introduce 4K 4K 60 FPS for future firmware update. I hope those people are right. I'm not 100% sure on that, whether they'll do that just because of that heat. I think is maybe the limiting factor. If you look at the gimbal and the camera and just the drone itself for the Phantom 4 Pro, which of course has a 1-inch sensor, probably the same or very similar Sony 1-inch sensor that the Mavic 2 Pro has. It's just bigger, and so there's more room for heat dissipation and that kind of stuff. So that may be the limiting factor. I don't know that for sure, right? But that's speculation. So if they feel like it can handle that heat, maybe they will do an upgrade with a firmware update in the future. If I remember correct, one of the Phantom 3s maybe did an upgrade where they introduced maybe 60 FPS, or they introduced something, an additional video mode. I think they introduced either 2.7K or maybe it's 2.7K at 60 frames per second or something like that, via a firmware update. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. Yes, be nice for slow motion 4K. I agree. So I generally, most of the stuff that I do, slow motion 4K usually isn't a big issue, and if it is, what I would just do is I would just drop down to 2.7K and do 60 FPS, and depending upon what your usage profile is, if you're just uploading videos to YouTube, stretching a 2.7K video up to 4K, I would bet that 99.9% of people wouldn't be able to tell the difference when they're watching via YouTube. Now, if you're using it for, for some commercial opportunity, where a business opportunity, and you're not just uploading to the internet, you're using it for something real, you're getting paid for, yeah, that 4K 60 FPS is probably a bigger deal. But I think the 2.7K at 60 FPS in terms of internet video is probably going to get you by, but it's not perfect. And I agree, I would love to see 4K 60 FPS. Yes, Jim Kreinen, thanks for joining us. I did watch the UAV video. That guy is crazy, man. He was throwing all kinds of stuff at it, and you know what? He's got more cojones than I do. I know that he got his for free, so that's probably why he's all right with doing that. He's going to get a bunch of views off of that. But yeah, sport mode into a tree, and it still flew, right? That's just crazy. Battery life is incredible. I'm used to 12 minutes on the Spark. Absolutely, Cardoso. The battery time is I mean, so I was talking with my teenage son this evening, and he was asking me a little bit about it, and I was telling him that the battery life is just so much longer, and he's like, oh yeah, so you won't have to bring it back in the middle of the fireworks show, right? I was like, yep. And oh, you won't have to bring it back in the middle of this, yep. So there was multiple times with both my Mavic Air and my Spark that the battery life died at just the worst time, and basically having nearly, and I say nearly, twice the amount of battery is going to be, is going to be awesome. So I appreciate. So that's going to be cool. Coast to Coast Drones. I hope you get yours tomorrow as well. Does yours say that your delivery say that it's going to be Wednesday? If so, I'm guessing it will come tomorrow if you're in the U.S. anyways. Stan's Cocom controller can fit iPad mini. I believe that's the case. I believe that the controller, just like the original Mavic Pro and the Spark and will fit the iPad mini just barely. I think they designed it specifically so that it'll fit the iPad mini. I have not, and my boys have an iPad mini, but it's upstairs, or I would show you. But I'm pretty sure that that's the case. I think you'll be fine with that. I personally am starting to not like having my screen down here, and especially those. I don't have a huge phone. I've just got the iPhone 8, and I like it up here more. I like the screen up here more instead of down here more. Yeah, if I put it up here, it's going to block the screen, take away that benefit. But having the screen up here and being bigger is something I'm gonna start playing around with more and more. There's been several times when I've done video and then I get back home and I'm like, oh my goodness, I totally missed that when I was recording. I couldn't see it on the little tiny screen, and so having a bigger iPad screen, or what I'd love to have is the big crystal sky screen, or the Mavic, the goggles RE. That's something I'm contemplating, is the goggles RE, the racing edition. Because I also want to get into FPV drones at some point. Unfortunately, time and budget are constraints, but I would love to get into that. But if I could get the goggles racing edition that supports both OcuSync 2.0, the original OcuSync, as well as regular FPV drones, that would be kind of cool. Because one of the expensive things of getting into FPV is the goggles. You can buy Fat Sharks or something like that, which are the really good ones. But having dual purpose, having the DJI goggles racing edition with the OcuSync for the Mavic 2, as well as being able to use it for FPV, is kind of, hey, I can tell my wife, hey, it's two things, right? But anyways, let's see what else we got going on, guys. I really appreciate you guys all joining. David Ma, appreciate you joining. AJ Alvarez, appreciate you joining. You got the Autel Evo 4K 60, and I actually sold and got rid of it now. Got the Mavic Zoom. Okay. Yep. AJ? I'm curious. How do you like the Autel Evo? Had you Evo? Most likely shoot 2.7K. You know what? 2.7K is highly underrated in my opinion. 4K, if you don't have a really good computer, is hard on it to do the processing. You can do the proxy files and stuff, which makes it a bit easier, but it's got to transcode. It's got to do the upfront processing to create those proxies, which takes a long time, and then when you export and so on. So it helps, but 2.7K is kind of that good in between 1080p. It gives you more resolution, allows you to kind of zoom in on stuff without losing quality, and also gives you 60p when you're talking about the Mavic Pro or the Mavic 2, because it's both in the Zoom and the Pro. Let's see. I don't know about marketing gimmick, WG Brown. I don't know if I agree with you 100% on that. But if you look at YouTube stats, almost a huge portion of people are actually watching videos on their phones and their tablets. They're not watching on computers necessarily, and so 4K is really not necessary. Where I look at 4K is the kind of future-proofing, because if I go back and look at videos that are 5 years old and I gotta watch a 480p video, the quality is you can just tell a huge difference, right? And so 4K just kind of future-proofs a little bit. I think that's part of the problem. Now, I don't have a 4K TV. I know a lot of people are starting to get 4K TVs. If I had a 4K TV, I'd probably feel even stronger about 4K. Almost all of my videos I shoot with my Canon SL2 here, and it doesn't support 4K. It's 1080p, but it's a great little camera. I love it. It works really well, but I would like a 4K. But then I got to upgrade. It's you upgrade one thing, and then you got to upgrade all the rest of the stuff to go with it, right? Let's see what else we got going on, guys. Let me scoot down. Todd Fox, hey man, how's it going? David Ma, glad you're really enjoying your Autel Evo. I think it's a great drone as well. I think they could have done a little bit better with their release, though. That not having an iPhone app, an iOS app, the horizon tilt issues, a lot of the stuff they were spouting, a lot of the stuff they told me in an interview didn't necessarily come to fruition right away, and I think that kind of turned off a lot of people. But I think it's a great drone, and the images that it puts out are pretty great, to be honest with you. All right, what else do you guys want to know about the Mavic 2 Pro? So again, I chose the Pro because I wanted the 1-inch sensor. I do a lot of sunset, sunrise. So the larger sensor for collecting that light is something that I really enjoy, and I'm really hoping is going to work out. Now I haven't had a chance to look at all my videos and be able to actually see for sure how well it's going to be. I hope in the next couple days to start doing some more comparisons of it versus like the Mavic Air and so on, to see what the quality is going to look like. But so far, I think it's just it's kind of the next step above. It's, you know, is it you know, so much better than everything else that's out there? I don't know that it's like just a whole new genre or anything like that. It doesn't move the drone industry just like leaps and bounds forward. What I think it is it's a great evolution of the Mavic Pro platform. I think it's a great next step. The improvements in battery time, OcuSync for signal strength, the active tracking, the obstacle avoidance, the you know, all those different areas kind of coming together, and just stepping it forward, moving it forward. So that is, I think, really where this is coming from. And you know, me coming from the Spark and the Mavic Air to the Mavic 2 platform is really a big step for me. You know, for those of you guys coming from the original Mavic Pro, you know, again, I think it's that evolutionary step. You already had the OcuSync, you already had the 27-ish minutes battery time. You already had some of those things. You didn't have as many sensors, you know, so on and so forth. So, you know, this is just that next step beyond. So, you know, if you already have a great drone, it's doing you well, you don't want to spend the money, you know what? That's you know, that's perfectly fine. You know what I mean? You don't feel like you have to go and get the latest and greatest. Don't feel like you have to be on that rat race, right? But you know what? If you got the budget for it, and you're not sacrificing in some other area of your life in order to do it, and you know, it's something that makes you really happy, it's your hobby, or it's something you do for you use for your business, you know what? So far, I give it a thumbs up. It's been a really good product so far. So do I think it replaces the need for the Phantom 4 as far as picture quality? So I don't have a Phantom 4 Pro, but I think it's right there, right? I mean, it's right there. I think that in some aspects with the Hasselblad portion of it, the new color profiles, some of the color science they've introduced, I think it's really going to be that next step. Cardoso, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it, man. We'll catch you on another one. So I don't know that you know, I think it's going to do a lot. One of the things that I like about it is that I don't know that you're going to get any props the way they have the arms designed. I don't think you're going to get props in the pictures. I haven't seen props in the pictures. If you guys seen any videos, and I'm curious if you have, let me know about it in the chat. But I don't think I've seen anybody with props in the picture, in their videos or anything. You certainly, with the Phantom 4 Pro, you certainly have seen that. Thanks, WG Brown. I'm going to be wrapping up here in just a second myself as well. It's getting late here in the East Coast. So I don't know that it's going to totally replace, especially if you're someone who likes that 60 frames per second 4K at 60 FPS. If that's something you need, I was talking with somebody online just the other day. They were saying, "Oh, I can't believe they didn't do 4K 60 FPS." And I asked him, "Well, what do you use it for?" And apparently he does a lot of videoing of rowing contests, right? And so that's something that I could very definitely see really needing that 4K 60 FPS. But if you don't have, you know, a specific purpose for it like that, where you're going to do slow motion of that, then, you know, that's really not a big deal, right? So I would probably go with this over the Phantom 4 Pro. One thing the Phantom 4 Pro has is that it's got that sleek body. It's got a little bit more weight, so it's going to be a little bit more resistant to wind. This is done. I had some wind today, and it did really well with that. But you know, it is what it is. So you know, there's going to be some people. One of the things that I can think of that is a bit different is if you're having the camera out front versus having the camera under the center mass here. when you do a rotate, right, the camera is moving out here, right? So it's rotating outside of the center mass, right? Whereas with the Phantom 4 Pro, the camera down here is maybe just rotating on itself, so you're not swinging it out around as much. I don't know that that makes a huge deal, but that was one of the things I was thinking of the other night about, maybe, if you're doing that overhead shot straight down, and if you've ever tried to do that, trying to get it perfectly centered over that is one of those things. Yeah, AJ, you have a 4K TV and MacBook Pro, but to be honest, I always use my iPhone X for everything. Yeah, I look at my YouTube stats, and almost everybody, it's a huge portion of people that are using their phones and their tablets for watching everything. I mean, I'm watching more and more online video all the time on these devices, and using my TV less and less all the time. My family doesn't watch very much TV anymore. It's really when we kind of all get together and we say, okay, we're going to watch something together. That's one of the few times we actually turn the TV on and watch. Otherwise, a lot of times, if we're doing other stuff, we got our devices out and we're watching on those devices. So it's interesting. Randy, I don't shoot any at night or in the morning, but I do have a 65-inch 4K TV. Should I consider the Mavic Pro? That's a good question. So what do you already have? What's your budget? What type of stuff are you going to be shooting? So the 4K TV doesn't, there's a lot of drones that record in 4K, the Mavic 2 Pro, the Mavic 2 Zoom, pretty much everything that's out there, the Evo, the Autel Evo, the Ergonomics, the Mavic Air, the Spark is still 1080p. So there's a lot of aircraft out there that'll record in 4K and will give you great videos. Where I think the Pro, where you want to look at the Pro over the Zoom, is if you're really doing color profiles and you're editing your videos and you're changing the look and feel of the color. That's where I think is the big difference. Hopefully it's going to have a removable gimbal. Whoever mod that on YouTube is going to get 1 million hits for sure. Yeah, I wish I was a smart guy, and I wish I had the budget to not have to worry about messing it up, but it certainly seems like it should be really easy, and I would imagine that we're going to see somebody do that really soon. James Tinnell, I agree. I have to be heading to bed here very soon as well. Appreciate you joining. I appreciate everybody joining. I have really enjoyed getting an opportunity to be able to play around with this today. If you guys are planning on ordering a drone, I would love for you to hit my affiliate links. Gives me just a small slice of DJI's profits or Amazon's profits if you hit one of those affiliate links down below. And instead of sending all your money to Jeff Bezos or DJI or whatever, send me a few cents by using my affiliate link. Helps me out, be able to buy things like this, to be able to have these conversations with you guys. Helps put lights and cameras and so on to be able to put this YouTube channel on. So I really appreciate that. Hope everybody has a great night. Get out, go fly it, and I hope to see you guys again on another video soon. Take care, guys.